With me is a good friend, Craig, and we've done a lot of security missions together over the years. And because of his unique background, I brought him here today to help you.
I am a former fire captain in the Los Angeles area. I spent 31 years on the job, and I have been to countless emergency responses. I am currently an instructor in a fire academy. And today we're going to talk about how to treat injuries caused by a baton, either to yourself or the victim.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to simulate some wounds on myself, and I'm the victim. And I took some stage makeup. I put on some bruising. It's a little red because it's just been impacted by a baton. And Craig is going to show how to deal with the first injury, a contusion, a bruise.
In regards to an injury, the most important thing you have to do is to remove the clothing to expose the injury. And the quickest and fastest way to do that is to cut the clothing off. And I'm going to demonstrate that right now. And you need to use medical scissors so you don't create any more injury to the victim. Okay, now that I removed the clothing, I discovered he has bruising on his forearm, and this would be considered a soft tissue injury. Now, even as a soft tissue injury, you need to have medical follow-up care on it because of the mechanism of injury. What caused this injury could have underlying issues going on that has to be examined by a doctor. But till then, for transport, what I want to do is put some type of cold press on it. If it's an ice, a breakaway ice pack in your first aid kit, what that does is reduce swelling and ease pain until the doctor can see him.
So now what I did for Craig is I put together a wound made of latex, and you can actually see torn skin. And now he's going to deal with this injury.
Now what we have is a bleeding wound. And anytime we have exposed body fluid, it's extremely important to remember gloves, eye, mask protection because of blood pathogens. With that being said, I need to stop the bleeding. The best thing I can do is if I don't have a first aid kit or anything, get some type of cloth to put over it and have the person apply direct pressure with his own hand to stop the bleeding and then call for medical assistance. What I want to demonstrate here is how to bandage an open wound with my first aid kit. I'd start with some type of dressing I would place over the wound. I would hold it there, I would take gauze to hold the dressing in place. Not too tight, but enough pressure to help the bleeding stop. Okay, come up here, thank you. Now I take some tape to hold the dressing in place, the gauze. I'd ask him to keep his arm in a comfortable position but elevated, because once you have elevation, it helps prevent the bleeding.
Now that Craig has me all bandaged up, we're going to the next one, and underneath is a fracture or even a broken bone from the baton strike.
What I want to talk about now is a fracture in an extremity. What we discover now is that his arm has been broken. So what we need to do is stabilize that arm and splint it so no further damage to the extremity. There's a couple ways that we can do that. In the fire service, they make an air splint. We carry that air splint, we slide it up, it seals, we pressurize it. The pressure of the air keeps the arm stable. Another thing we have is a cardboard splint. And I improvised this to show you. It's a three-sided piece of cardboard. It's able to fold up, and then I lay the hand, and I want position of function. I want those fingers to relax like that over it. It's a little more painful if you keep the fingers straight. So anytime you splint, you want to make sure that he can at least put his fingers over the edge of the split. Once I set the arm in there, I will wrap it at least in 2 places with tape or gauze around the wrist and then up by the elbow. Now, I don't want the split too long because I need to bend the arm up to put it into a sling. Okay, now what we need to do is try to improvise something to stabilize this fracture. And I'm going to assume this is a piece of cardboard. That's probably the most accessible thing around to use. So I found a piece of cardboard, and I use this as the bottom of the splint to hold the arm steady. Now all I need to do is secure the arm to the cardboard. There's a couple ways we can do that. Gauze is one way. If you have tape, medical tape, duct tape, you have to use something to prevent this arm from moving. So I'll show you 2 different things you can do. So again, the tape, what I would do, just a simple and then if it's preferable if you have gauze. So we take the gauze, we'll come around, take a wrap. What I like to do is take a twist, a little bit more stability with the gauze, come around again, come around again. And then I would just tie it off. Simple overhand knot. If you can't remember that, just wrap it around, tie the 2 ends off. Now this is stable to this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to prepare for the sling. Now we need to sling the arm to the body. And what you need is a triangle, they call it a triangle bandage or a sling. And what we're going to do, this is from a first aid kit, so it's pre-cut and shaped. So what I take is the long end, I place it on his chest, and then set his arm in there. Now what I do is going to grab the bottom end of the sling, bring it across the broken arm, and tie it in the back. Now, okay, once that is secure, I'm going to take the 3rd end of the triangle band-aid and I'm going to safety pin it to stabilize the elbow. Now we're ready for transport. Okay, I want to talk a little about splinting other areas of the body. The upper arm is treated the same way as the lower part of the arm. Create a splint, secure it to the splint, and then put it in a sling to stabilize it, not to be mobile to create any more injury. Now, what could happen in using a baton if that individual raises their arm and you strike the rib cage? Now you have fractured or bruised a rib, and this can create some serious complications. If it's broken, it could actually create a pneumothorax where it got into the lungs, where it's going to affect his breathing. So if we do have a fractured rib, we need to stabilize it the best we can. And there's not much we can do, but we understand we have cartilage in the front and then bone in the back. So if there is a fracture, what you're going to see, a severe fracture, is when you breathe, that rib cage expands, the broken part will not expand, and that's where the break is, creating severe pain into the lung and into the rib cage. So there's a couple ways you can stabilize it. You can run tape from the sternum around the side to the middle of the back. You can put strands of tape, medical tape, duct tape, to put some pressure on that because you want to stop the movement of the rib, because as you inhale, your rib cage expands. But with the fractured part, it will not expand, creating severe pain. So you want to prevent movement. You want to stabilize that together. You want to tell the individual short breaths. And then after you get tape around it, another thing, if you don't have that, develop some type of padding here and then have him hold it to keep pressure on it, or you can wrap gauze around it also too to stabilize that rib cage. We've talked about the upper body, the arm, the rib cage. I want to talk a little bit about a leg fracture. And a leg fracture is splinted differently than the arm fracture. And so what you need when you do a leg fracture, you need to take two objects, something rigid, broom handle, 1x2, 1x3, something that can stabilize the leg. And what you want to do is you put it on the outside and the inside of the leg like this. Now, obviously, if the break is down here, you can run it a short piece here to here. But I would prefer, even if this is broken here, the whole leg, because the movement of the knee is going to create more pain to that lower leg. So I would you take your piece, your splinting material, whatever you can find, and you put it as the victim is laying down. You just lay it on the inside, the outside of the leg. Now, how to secure this, you have to do it 4 spots. You want to do it at the lower and the upper part of the lower leg, then above the knee, then up at the thigh. So either you can use your tape, duct tape, gauze, but 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 below the knee, 2 above the knee. You secure that for stabilization, and then you call for transport.
I've been an advisor on the board of advisors on Security Training Center for 2 decades since the company was first formed. And this Baton training video is just part of the contribution I've made over the years. Now, I'm still a certified guard with the state of California, so I have to have a continuing education in security matters, and I even go to STC, even though I am a contributor, because there I can get good online training and also very clear and concise training materials. So, visit the website and stay safe.